Welcome to Lesson 3, Lecture 3. I'm your instructor, Jennifer Neely. To convince and convert in marketing, we need to understand the learning process. Learning is a change in a person's thought processes caused by prior experience. There are a number of steps in the learning process. As I discussed, drive is a strong stimulus that encourages action. Depending on products, signs, ads, and other stimuli in the environment, which we call cues, an individual chooses a specific response. Response is an effort to satisfy a drive. The response chosen depends upon the person's past experience and the cues. Reinforcement of the learning process happens when the response is followed by satisfaction, which we consider a reduction in drive. Repeated reinforcement leads to a development of a habit, making the individual's decision process routine. Let's use some real-world thinking here. Can you think of any examples where companies have used the learning process to develop a best-selling product? An attitude is a person's point of view about something. Attitudes tend to be learned. They shape information processing in the consumer's mind. Attitudes also relate to buying decisions consumers make, and that's why marketers do a lot of attitude research. Let's take a look at an eco-minded marketing example. Beliefs are opinions people have about something. Green attitudes and beliefs change marketing mixes. In this example, we're looking at the key issues for a growing number of consumers who believe that they can have a positive effect on the environment if they buy from companies that can help them make greener choices. Most marketers work with existing attitudes. Consumer attitudes tend to be enduring. It's usually more economical for marketers to work with them rather than to try to change them. We think of attitudes as positive, negative, and neutral. Changing negative attitudes is probably the most difficult job marketers face. Ethical issues may arise if marketers promote or perceive to promote inaccurate or false beliefs. Expectations are outcomes or events that a person anticipates. Understanding and meeting expectations are both important in order to build long-term relationships with customers. Building consumer trust builds sales. Trust is the confidence a person has in the promises or actions of another person, brand, or company. Trust drives expectations because when people trust, they expect the other party to fulfill promises and/or perform capably. Trust can be very important in some purchase situations. Personality and lifestyle are other psychological variables that affect consumer behavior. We call this psychographic information, and it focuses on activities, interests, and opinions. Personality affects how people see things, but marketers have found it difficult to incorporate personality into the marketing mix. Psychographics or lifestyle analysis identifies activities, what people do that is objectively observable. Interests that could create stronger drives and may pinpoint market opportunities. Opinions, the way in which people feel about things. By combining opinions with interests and activities, marketers can develop a robust view of certain target market segments. Think about this real-world example. It's often said that lifestyle analysis paints a more human picture of the target consumer than does a simple demographic description. Think about why this would be the case or would not be the case. Psychographics or lifestyle analysis is the analysis of a person's day-to-day pattern of living as expressed in that person's activities, interests, and opinions, sometimes referred to as AIOs. Here we see Exhibit 5-6 from Chapter 5 of your textbook, which shows some variables for each of the AIO dimensions, along with some demographics used to add detail to the lifestyle profile of a target market. Understanding the lifestyle of target consumers helps in providing ideas for advertising themes. Think about how understanding the lifestyle of a target consumer adds to a typical demographic discussion. That shows you how these lifestyle dimensions can help you further market or more effectively market to a target or segment. A consumer's family, social class, and reference groups influence the consumer decision process. Relationships with other family members influence many aspects of consumer behavior. Marital status, age, and the age of children in the family have an especially important effect on how people spend their income. For example, singles and young couples are more willing to try new products and brands. Younger families are still accumulating durable goods such as automobiles and home furnishings. And to meet expenses, people in this age group often make more purchases on credit, and they save less of their income. With more people choosing to remain single and others getting divorced, more Americans and Europeans now live alone. This trend opens new markets for firms. For example, IKEA has seen significant growth in product lines designed for small space living. Once children become teenagers, further shifts in spending occur. American teens currently spend almost $200 billion a year. They are a target for many firms. Empty nesters are people whose children have grown and who are now able to spend their money in other ways. They spend more on travel and other things they couldn't afford earlier in life. With sex role stereotypes changed and with night and weekend shopping more popular, men and older children take more responsibility for shopping and decision making. Buying responsibility and influence vary greatly depending on the product and the family. Social influences are listed from top to bottom on this slide along a triangle. At the top of the triangle is the family life cycle. Moving down the list are acceptance of new ideas by youngsters, growing singles market, relocation for teens, empty nesters, and at the base, the real decision maker. A good exercise here could be to think about examples for each of the social influences that affect buying decisions for each group. Relationships with other family members influence many aspects of consumer behavior. The exhibit here shows a summary of possible stages in the family life cycle. You can go into detail with this exhibit 5-7 in Chapter 5 of your textbook. We know that the traditional family life cycle flow from young and single to getting married, adding children who grow up and later leave home is changing or has changed. Increasingly, many Americans and Europeans have delayed parenthood or are choosing not to have children at all. This, alongside statistics showing that divorce is a common life cycle for many, means that the family life cycle has changed. Rather than going through each of the stages of the life cycle shown here, the most important thing for you to be thinking about is how you might map out or use this example as a guide to figure out what the typical family life cycle is for your target or segment consumer, or how and where in the family life cycle or flow your individual consumer target or segment is located. What pressures might fall upon them? What might be influencing their decisions? Where do they live? And a lot of this goes back to their hierarchies, the PSSP hierarchy or Maslow's hierarchy of needs.